The message arrived on a Tuesday. It came through all communication channels at once: radio, television, internet, and even old fax machines. Earth had been invited to join the Galactic Olympics. Jack Nelson stared at the official letter in his hands. 5 years ago, he had been America's best hope for gold in swimming. Then came the accident that crushed his shoulder and his dreams. Now the government wanted him to lead humanity's first Olympic team among the stars. "This has to be a joke," Jack said, looking up at General Harris. "No joke, Nelson. Aliens have been watching us for decades. They decided we're finally worth inviting." Jack laughed without humor. "And they want a washed-up swimmer to lead the team. They want someone who understands competition, sacrifice, and how to face impossible odds." The general pushed a tablet across the desk. "Your medical records. Our scientists fixed your shoulder last week while you were getting your wisdom teeth removed. Classify technology. Consider it payment for taking this job." Jack rolled his shoulder experimentally. No pain. For the first time in years. 3 months later, Jack stood in the loading bay of humanity's first faster-than-light ship, watching as his team of 50 athletes boarded. Lisa Wright, the fastest woman on Earth, argued with coaches about proper training equipment. Alan Clark, who could lift 3 times his body weight, quietly helped the gymnasts with their bags. Samantha Diaz, whose gymnastics routines defied physics, practiced handstands while waiting. "We look like kids going to summer camp," Lisa said, joining Jack at the window. "The briefing said some species are sending thousands of competitors. We're new. They don't expect much from us," Jack replied. "Good. I like being underestimated." The journey took 2 weeks. 2 weeks of training in artificial gravity, studying alien physiology, and learning the complex rules of games no human had ever played. Jack watched recordings of previous Galactic Olympics, growing more concerned with each viewing. "These events favor specific body types," he told his team during a meeting. "Many seem designed for beings from low-gravity worlds or with extra limbs. So we're at a disadvantage before we even begin," Alan said. "Exactly. But humans have one advantage. We adapt faster than any species they've encountered." Their ship docked at Harmony Ring, an enormous space station orbiting a neutral star. As the humans disembarked, hundreds of alien species watched. Some had multiple arms, others moved like liquid, and some floated without visible means of propulsion. A tall blue-skinned alien approached them. "Humans, I am Drezkar, captain of the Thorlaxian team and 12-time champion. Your presence here is quaint." Jack extended his hand. "Jack Nelson, we're looking forward to competing." The alien ignored the gesture. "Looking forward to losing, you mean? Your species has barely mastered space travel. The Galactic Council only invited you as a curiosity." After Drezkar left, a smaller alien with feathery skin approached. "Do not mind the Thorlaxians. They fear new competitors. I am Keeltor of the Thorlaxian delegation." "Nice to meet you," Jack said. "Be careful, human. The rules have a way of changing when new species join the games." That evening, as the human team settled into their quarters, the announcer's voice echoed through the station. "Attention all competitors. Due to safety concerns, the following rule adjustments will be implemented immediately." The team gathered around a screen as the changes scrolled past. Every modification seemed to target human physiology directly. "That can't be coincidence," Samantha whispered. "No," Jack agreed. "It's not." He looked around at his team's worried faces. "They're afraid of us. They wouldn't bother cheating if they weren't." Lisa grinned. "So we make them right to be afraid." Jack nodded. Outside their window, the vast blackness of space stretched endlessly, dotted with stars. Somewhere out there, Earth waited for news of their performance. They wouldn't let their planet down. "Get some rest," Jack told his team. "Tomorrow, we show the galaxy what humans can do." Morning came too quickly on Harmony Ring. The human team gathered in their common area, faces tired but determined. Jack stood before them with a digital rulebook that seemed to grow longer by the hour. They added 16 new rules overnight, he said, scrolling through the updates. Most affect the gravity settings for our events. Lisa studied the changes over his shoulder. This one says human events will now be held at 0.8 standard gravity instead of 1.2. That's lower than Earth gravity. They're trying to throw off our muscle memory, Jack explained. Our bodies are adapted to Earth's gravity. Lower gravity means we'll overshoot our movements. Alan crossed his massive arms. Can they just change rules whenever they want? Kieltor, their Dralaxian ally, entered the room. His feathery skin rippled with what the humans had learned was anxiety. The Galactic Olympic Committee claims all changes are for competitor safety, Kieltor said. But yes, they can alter rules until the day before an event. It has happened to many new species. Samantha stretched into an impossible position, seemingly untroubled. Then we practice in different gravities. Starting now. The team spent the morning in the training facilities, a vast chamber that could simulate various environmental conditions. Jack watched as his athletes struggled to adjust. Lisa's normally perfect stride sent her bouncing like a kangaroo. Alan dropped weights that should have been easy for him. Samantha alone seemed to adapt quickly, her gymnast's body finding new ways to move. The Xorlaxians are watching us, Jack noted, seeing the blue-skinned aliens observing from a viewing platform. Let them watch, Lisa said between breaths. They'll only see us failing. After lunch, the team attended the rules briefing. Representatives from all competing species crowded into an enormous amphitheater. The variety was stunning, beings made of crystal, others that seemed to be living gas, and some with so many limbs Jack lost count. The head official, a six-armed being called an arbitrator, explained the competition structure. Events are divided into universal and species-specific categories. Universal events use standardized equipment suitable for all body types. Species-specific events test natural abilities. Jack raised his hand. What about the gravity changes announced this morning? The arbitrator's face, if it could be called that, remained expressionless. Safety adjustments based on biological assessments. But our biology evolved in higher gravity. Lowering it puts us at a disadvantage. Whispers rippled through the crowd. The arbitrator's voice hardened. The committee's decision is final. As they left the briefing, Dreskar blocked their path. Two other Xorlaxians flanked him, their blue skin almost metallic under the lights. Problems, humans. Perhaps your primitive species isn't ready for galactic competition. His mouth formed what might have been a smile. You could always withdraw. No shame in knowing your place. Jack stepped forward. We know our place. Right here, competing fairly. Dreskar laughed. Fairly? There's nothing fair about the universe. Some species are simply superior. After the Xorlaxians left, Kieltor pulled Jack aside. The Xorlaxians have dominated for 12 cycles. They've never lost a medal count since joining. Everyone loses eventually, Jack said. Not if they control the game. Kieltor handed Jack a small device. Historical records of previous Olympics. Notice how many emerging species withdraw after their first games. That night, Jack studied the records in his quarters. A clear pattern emerged, promising new species hampered by last-minute rule changes, equipment failures, or mysterious disqualifications. Those who persisted faced increasingly hostile conditions until they gave up. Jack called an emergency team meeting. They're not just trying to beat us, he told his team, displaying the historical data. They want to discourage us from ever returning. Why? Alan asked. What threat could we possibly pose? I don't know yet, Jack admitted, but we're not giving them what they want. Tomorrow, our first events begin. We adapt. We fight. And we show them exactly what humans do under pressure. The team nodded, a new fire in their eyes. Outside their windows, the lights of competing alien vessels sparkled like stars, unaware that humanity had just found its resolve. The first day of competition went worse than anyone expected. Ellen represented humanity in the gravity-adjusted weightlifting event, facing competitors from 20 different worlds. The Thorlaxian lifter, with his 4 arms and low-gravity adaptations, moved weights that looked impossible to budge. When Alan's turn came, he stepped onto the platform confidently. The weights had been calibrated for what officials called fair biological equivalency. But as Alan gripped the bar, his face changed. He strained, muscles bulging, but the weight barely moved. "Something's wrong," Jack whispered to Lisa as they watched from the stands. "He lifted more than this in practice yesterday." The attempt ended in failure. Alan's second and third tries were no better. He left the platform with his head down as alien spectators murmured with what sounded like amusement. Back in the human quarters, Alan threw his gear against the wall. The weights were heavier than what we were told. "I'm sure of it." Jack examined Alan's lifting gloves. "Look at this residue. Someone coated your equipment with something." Samantha took the gloves and sniffed them. "It's slippery when it gets wet." "Your sweat activated it." Lisa pulled out her tablet, showing headlines from across the galaxy. The stories were all the same. Humans disappoint in Olympic debut, and Earth's champions prove unworthy of galactic competition. The next events brought similar results. Lisa false started in her sprint qualifier after the starting signal came early. Samantha's equipment settings were mysteriously altered minutes before her gymnastics routine. By the end of the day, not a single human had advanced to any finals. Jack found himself in the empty locker room, staring at a wall. Their team doctor ran tests on their equipment and found evidence of tampering, but the officials dismissed their complaints as misunderstandings of standard equipment. The door opened and Kieltor entered, looking around nervously. "You shouldn't be here," Jack said. "I came to help. This happened to my species 3 cycles ago. Eventually, we gave up. We're not giving up." The Exorlaxians have agents throughout the committee. They've perfected their methods over many cycles. Jack punched a locker, the sound echoing. "Why? What do they gain?" "Resources, prestige, trade advantages," Kieltor explained. "Winners receive more than medals. They get favorable mining rights, technology access, and colonial permits." Jack thought about Earth, still recovering from climate disasters and resource shortages. Those prizes could change everything for humanity. That evening, Jack called the team together. Their faces showed defeat and anger. "They're cheating because they're scared," he told them. "We need to be smarter." Lisa nodded. "I've been recording and analyzing their techniques. If we know what to expect, we can prepare." Samantha demonstrated a modified gymnastics move. "I'm adapting my routine to the altered gravity, using it against them." Alan remained quiet until everyone looked at him. "I've been thinking," he finally said. "We trained our whole lives in Earth gravity. That's higher than most competing worlds. We should have better endurance." A slow smile spread across Jack's face. "You're right. They might beat us in explosive strength or speed, but humans evolved to outendure almost any creature on Earth." "The marathon events are tomorrow," Lisa pointed out. "And the swimming endurance tests." Jack pulled out his tablet and showed them footage from previous games. "Watch the Corlaxians in longer events. They start strong but fade. Their low-gravity world never forced them to develop our efficiency." For the first time that day, hope flickered in the room. Jack continued, "We need to document every instance of cheating, build our case, and while we're doing that, we find the events where our natural adaptations give us an edge." They worked late into the night, analyzing footage, modifying techniques, and preparing for the next day. When they finally broke to sleep, Jack remained awake, studying the competition schedule. A small notification blinked on his tablet. The rules had changed again. But this time, Jack smiled. They had changed the marathon event to include more obstacles and extended the distance. They thought they were making it harder for humans. They had no idea what humans were built for. Morning arrived with a buzz of excitement throughout Harmony Ring. The human team entered the arena with new determination. Today featured the endurance events, and they had a plan. Lisa lined up for the Universal Sprint category. Unlike yesterday's specialized event, this race allowed all species to compete together. The starting area looked chaotic. Beings with multiple legs, some floating above the ground. Others with body structures humans had no words for. "Remember what we discussed," Jack said to Lisa before she took her position. "Pace yourself. The Chlorlaxians start strong but fade." The starting signal flashed. The aliens burst forward with incredible speed, leaving Lisa behind. In the stands, alien spectators chittered with laughter at the humans' apparent slowness. But Jack watched the biometric readings on his tablet. Lisa's heart rate remained steady while the aliens were already peaking. Halfway through the race, the gap began to close. 3/4 in, Lisa passed 2 competitors. In the final stretch, she surged past a surprised Chlorlaxian to claim 3rd place. The stadium fell silent as Lisa took her place on the bronze medal platform. It was the first human medal in galactic history. "Impossible," Dreskar hissed as he passed the human team. "A fluke." But it wasn't. In the pool, Jack qualified for the finals in the underwater navigation event. Samantha adapted her routine to the lower gravity, using it to achieve heights no other competitor could match. She advanced to the finals with the 2nd highest score. "They're changing tactics," Jack warned his team during their midday break. "Watch for new forms of interference." Sure enough, during Alan's endurance lifting event, the environmental controls malfunctioned, raising the temperature to uncomfortable levels. But Alan smiled through his sweat. Growing up in Arizona, he had trained in worse heat. He outlasted 14 other competitors to place 5th. Lisa spent her recovery time studying recordings of the races. "Look at this," she told Jack, pointing to her tablet. "The Chlorlaxians' body temperature regulation fails after 4 minutes of sustained effort. They can't handle extended exertion." That's their weakness, Jack realized. They're adapted to short bursts of activity, not sustained effort. Humans evolved as persistence hunters. We're built to keep going when others quit. Kieltor joined them, his feathers rustling with excitement. "Your success has not gone unnoticed. Several delegations are watching with interest." "Any allies?" Jack asked. "Not openly. The Chlorlaxians control too many resources, but there are ways to help quietly." He handed Jack a small device. "This detects tampering with environmental controls. Place it in your competition areas." That afternoon, Jack caught a Chlorlaxian technician adjusting the water temperature before his final. The detection device Kieltor provided recorded everything. Jack approached an official from a crystal-based species, one that had no alliance with the Chlorlaxians. "I need a neutral witness," Jack said, showing the evidence. The official hesitated, then nodded. Together, they reset the controls to standard settings. When Jack entered the water for his final, the conditions were fair for the first time. He navigated the underwater course with precision, using techniques perfected in Earth's oceans. He touched the final marker in 2nd place, securing another medal for humanity. As Jack climbed out of the pool, he noticed representatives from multiple species watching intently. The whispers were spreading. Humans were not just competing. They were winning despite the obstacles. That evening, viewers across the galaxy watched as Lisa and Jack stood on metal platforms, the Earth flag visible for the first time in galactic Olympic history. "This changes nothing," Dreskar told the media. 2 minor medals are insignificant." But his eyes betrayed his worry as he watched Samantha prepare for her final the next day. The tide was turning, and everyone could feel it. In their quarters that night, Jack gathered his team. "They'll escalate tomorrow. Be ready for anything." He held up the detection device. "And we'll be ready too. It's time to expose what's been happening here for generations." The 3rd day of competition began with an announcement. Due to concerns about fairness, all events will now be monitored by 3 species referee panels. The arbitrator didn't meet anyone's eyes as he spoke. "They're feeling the pressure," Jack told his team as they prepared. Our evidence is forcing some changes. Samantha was first to compete in the gymnastics finals. As she walked to the apparatus, a small group of aliens from 7 different species applauded. Word was spreading about the humans who refused to quit. The Exorlaxians had saved their best trick for today. Moments before Samantha's routine, all gravity controls in the arena reset to standard. For most competitors, this would be devastating. But for Samantha, raised in Earth's stronger gravity, it felt like coming home. She flew through her routine with grace that seemed impossible for a solid-bodied species. Even the announcers fell silent as she performed moves no one had seen before. When she finished, the score placed her in first position with 3 competitors remaining. They didn't expect that, Lisa said, watching the Exorlaxian coaches arguing with officials. They thought changing gravity would hurt her, not help. Humans are weird. Alan replied with a grin. We do better when things get harder. The Exorlaxian gymnast performed next, clearly struggling with the gravity change. He finished third, behind Samantha and a graceful gas-based being from Nebulon. Jack found Keeltor in the corridor. The tamper detection devices worked perfectly. We caught 3 separate attempts to alter conditions today. Good, Keeltor said, but be careful. The Exorlaxians won't surrender their dominance easily. That afternoon, Alan competed in the extended weight maintenance event, a contest to hold heavy weights in position for as long as possible. One by one, competitors dropped out as their muscles failed. After 20 minutes, only Alan and a stone-skinned granite from Petra Ivy remained. The granite had the advantage of naturally rigid limbs, but Alan had something else, the stubborn determination of a human who refused to quit. At 30 minutes, sweat pouring down his face, Alan remained steady while the granite began to tremble. Impossible, someone whispered in the crowd. His muscles should have failed. At 34 minutes, the granite's knees buckled. Alan stood alone, Earth's flag lighting up on the score display. Gold. News of the human victory spread across Harmony Ring. Aliens who had ignored or mocked them now approached with questions. How did humans train? What was Earth like? The team became minor celebrities. The Exorlaxians responded by filing formal complaints, claiming humans used illegal biological enhancements. Officials took blood samples from the whole team. They'll find nothing, Jack assured everyone, but it buys them time to plan their next move. Lisa spent hours analyzing the remaining events. Tomorrow is the aquatic relay. 4 team members, 4 different swimming styles. I've been studying the Exorlaxian technique. They're sloppy underwater because their homeworld has small, shallow seas. Jack nodded. We grew up on a planet covered in deep oceans, another advantage they didn't consider. That night, as the team slept, alarm sirens blared through their quarters. A security drill forced them to evacuate for 3 hours. When they returned, their equipment had been inspected and returned in disarray. They're getting desperate, Jack said as they sorted through their gear. Check everything before using it. Samantha found tiny holes drilled in her competition suit. Alan discovered his lifting belt had been stretched. Lisa's running shoes had slightly different weights. We adapt, Jack told his weary team. We fix what we can and work around what we can't. Tomorrow, we show them what happens when you corner humans. As the lights dimmed for sleep cycle, Jack's tablet pinged with a message from an anonymous sender. Not all of us support the Exorlaxians. Many species are watching humanity with hope. Don't give up. The message included access codes to the environmental control backup systems for all remaining event venues. Jack smiled in the darkness. The Exorlaxians had no idea what they had started. Humanity wasn't just fighting for medals anymore. They were fighting to change the Galactic Olympics forever. The 4th day brought the event Jack had been waiting for, the aquatic relay. He gathered his team near the pool, away from prying ears. Today we do more than compete, he told Lisa, Alan, and Samantha. Today we expose the Exorlaxians. Jack showed them the tiny recording devices, Kieltor had provided. Place these where you can see the Xorlaxian team before and during the event. We need evidence that can't be ignored. The massive pool arena filled with spectators from hundreds of worlds. The aquatic relay was one of the most popular events, combining speed, technique, and teamwork. 8 species had qualified for the finals, including Earth and Xorlax. As the teams prepared, Jack activated the environmental monitors. His tablet showed the water temperature dropping steadily in Lane 4, Earth's assigned lane. Using the access codes from his anonymous supporter, Jack locked the temperature controls, preventing further tampering. The Xorlaxian coach noticed his sabotage had failed. His eyes met Jack's across the pool deck. Jack smiled and held up his tablet, showing the locked controls. The coach's blue skin darkened with anger. "Competitors ready," the announcer called. Lissa took her position for the first leg of the relay as Jack placed his recording device on a support beam overlooking the Xorlaxian starting area. The race began. Lissa pushed off the wall with perfect form, her stroke smooth and efficient. The Xorlaxian swimmer took an early lead, but Lissa remained close. When she touched the wall, Alan dived in for the second leg. Jack watched his tablet as multiple recording devices captured the Xorlaxian coach, passing something to his second swimmer. When the swimmer entered the water, a cloud of purple liquid spread around him, creating a slick pathway that propelled him forward. "Got you," Jack whispered, saving the footage. Samantha swam third, her gymnast's flexibility giving her an advantage in the complicated twist stroke. Despite the Xorlaxians cheating, the humans stayed within striking distance. When Jack dived in for the anchor leg, Earth was in 4th place. The Xorlaxian swimmer was 10 meters ahead, leaving a purple trail in the water. Jack felt the familiar burn in his muscles as he pushed harder, his repaired shoulder working perfectly. He passed the 3rd-place Nebulon, then the 2nd-place Xorlaxian. In the final stretch, Jack's endurance training paid off. The Xorlaxian swimmer slowed, his energy fading. Jack pulled even, then ahead, touching the wall first. The human section of the crowd erupted in cheers. But Jack didn't celebrate. Instead, he climbed out of the pool and walked directly to the judges' panel, his tablet displaying the evidence. "I wish to file a formal protest," he said loud enough for nearby spectators to hear. The Xorlaxian team used an illegal propulsion substance during the relay. The head judge, a tentacled Octavian, seemed uncomfortable. "These are serious accusations. With evidence," Jack interrupted, uploading the recordings to the main display screen. The arena fell silent as crystal-clear images showed the Xorlaxian coach passing the substance to his swimmers and the purple trail in the water. More damning was footage of similar cheating in previous events, compiled from the team's recordings over the past days. "This has been happening throughout the games," Jack continued. "Not just to us, but to every new species for the past 12 cycles." The silence in the arena broke as voices rose in anger and support. Many species had suspected cheating, but never had proof. Now the evidence was undeniable. The arbitrator hurried to the podium. "We will need to investigate these allegations before announcing final results." Dreskar pushed through the crowd, his face contorted with rage. "These primitives know nothing of our traditions. Who are they to question our methods?" His words only made things worse. Across the arena, representatives from dozens of species began sharing their own stories of suspicious disqualifications and tampered equipment. Jack addressed the crowd. "This isn't just about Earth. It's about fair competition for all species. The Galactic Olympics should represent the best of us, not the worst." Cheers erupted from across the arena. The arbitrator looked from the angry crowd to the Xorlaxian delegation, then to Jack, still dripping pool water onto the deck. "The relay results are suspended pending full investigation," the arbitrator announced. "All previous medal events will also be reviewed." As Jack rejoined his team, Kieltor approached with representatives from 7 other species. "You've done what many of us have wanted to do for cycles," the Xorlaxian said. Whatever happens next, you have allies now. The final day of the Galactic Olympics arrived with a tension that filled every corner of Harmony Ring. After a night of emergency meetings, the Galactic Olympic Committee made an unprecedented announcement. Due to confirmed violations of competition rules, the Xorlaxian team is disqualified from all events. All affected competitions will be restaged today under maximum security protocols. The human team gathered in their quarters, hardly believing the news. They actually did it, Lisa said, reading the announcement again. The committee stood up to the Xorlaxians. Jack nodded. We couldn't have done it alone. Too many species have suffered from their cheating for too long. An official notification appeared on their tablets. The rescheduled events would begin in 3 hours. The humans would compete in 6 finals today. Lisa in the sprint, Samantha in gymnastics, Alan in strength endurance, and Jack in both individual aquatics and team relay. How do we handle this? Alan asked. We exposed the cheating, but can we actually win fairly? Jack looked at his team with confidence. We didn't come this far to back down. We show the galaxy what humans can really do. The finals began with Samantha's gymnastics routine. Under fair conditions and proper gravity settings, she performed even better than before. Her score put her in 2nd place overall, earning Earth another silver medal. Next came Lisa's sprint. Without the Xorlaxians' underhanded tactics, she finished strong, securing another bronze for humanity. Alan's strength endurance event had been completely restructured. Under neutral observation, he outlasted 12 other species, claiming gold for the 2nd time. His victory celebration, a simple fist raised toward Earth's distant sun, became the most shared image across galactic networks. The aquatic events took place under the watchful eyes of security drones. Jack won silver in his individual event, beaten fairly by a water-dwelling aquarian who genuinely deserved the gold. The final event, the team relay, brought the biggest surprise. With fair competition at last, the human team showed their true potential. They didn't just win. They broke the galactic record by 14 seconds. As they stood on the winner's platform, the human team raised Earth's flag together. The applause from the crowd wasn't just for their victory, but for changing the games forever. The closing ceremony was unlike any before it. The arbitrator, now flanked by representatives from 12 species, addressed the gathered competitors and spectators. These games have been transformative, the arbitrator said. Thanks to Earth's delegation, we have uncovered corruption that has tainted our competition for many cycles. A new era of fair play begins today. The human team sat in a place of honor as the medal count was announced. Earth had claimed 3 gold, 2 silver, and 2 bronze medals, an unprecedented achievement for a first-time competitor. As the ceremony ended, Dreskar approached Jack, his arrogance replaced by grudging respect. You've changed things, the Xorlaxian said. Not all of us approved of the cheating. Perhaps next time, we'll see who's truly better. I look forward to it, Jack replied, extending his hand. This time, Dreskar took it. Later that night, representatives from 32 species gathered in Earth's quarters. They brought with them a proposal. Jack would serve on a new ethics committee to rewrite the Olympic rules, ensuring fairness for all future competitions. We never expected any of this when we arrived, Jack told the gathered aliens. We just wanted to compete. Keelter's feathers rippled with amusement. That's why you were perfect. You didn't just want to win. You wanted to win fairly. As the Earth ship prepared to return home the next day, Jack stood at a viewing window, looking out at the stars. Earth would return in 4 years, better prepared and with more athletes. But they had already accomplished something more important than winning medals. They had shown the galaxy what humans truly stood for. Lisa joined him at the window. We did good, right? Jack smiled. We did what humans always do when pushed into a corner. We adapted, we persisted, and we changed the game. Across the galaxy, the story spread about the newcomers who refused to lose, refused to cheat, and refused to give up. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, and no one would underestimate them again.